It's so beautiful. That's one of those songs you don't want to clap on. You just want to Beautiful. Well, I want to say just a little bit about this, because if you haven't been up here to see this, this is the picture of Santa kneeling at the creche with baby Jesus. And the name of our special Christmas service this year is The Spirit of Christmas. And we're going to bring those two, Santa and the Christ story, together in that service. So be here, because there's a special guest that's going to show up. So I'm really excited about that. So during this time of year, this holiday time of year, we always have many choices, don't we? We always have so many things to do, and it feels like we have little time to get them done. And so by the end of the season, we feel harried and hurried, and there's just so much to the hustle and the bustle of this season. Dr. Seuss, Grinch, ultimately found that out. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled and puzzled till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. What if Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store? What if Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more? Oh, what if it meant a little bit more? What is that more? What is that more? And that's what we're in right now. I always, at the end of Thanksgiving, I always bring up the thought of what Mary did when she found out that she was pregnant. She went away and she pondered. And we're in that pondering time. We're in that time of holding the possibility. Holding the possibility. Not so much for the presents and the gifts that other people give to us, but for the presence. For the presence, for more awareness of the presence in our life. What a great example you are of that and the work that you do. And we all have that work. We all have a special gift to bring. We all can bless the world. I love what Eric Butterworth said. He was a New Thought minister and author. He said, "How very long have we been groping our way through darkness and ignorance, diseased, hurting and harming, unknowing and petty, unchristlike. But through all of this, we have ever dreamed of our potential for good. We have held the hope that light would be rekindled within us. It is this cycle of rebirth, of spiritual light, that is the real essence of Christmas." And so my intention this month is that we hold the light, and that we all come to realize that the light is about living inside God's highest truth. Living inside God's highest truth. So I want to share this story with you. There was a kindergarten child who went on vacation with her parents to Europe and visited many churches and beautiful stained glass windows. And on Sunday, after she came back, her Sunday school teacher asked the class, "Does anyone know what a saint is?" And she raised her hand, excited, and said, I know. A saint is someone the light shines through. A saint is someone the light shines through. What does that look like? What does that look like? You know, when people look at you, do they see the light? Do they see the light? Do they see you expressing that light, that God's highest truth? Elizabeth Kubler-Ross said, "People are like stained glass windows. They sparkle and shine when the sun is out, but when the darkness sets in, their true beauty is revealed only if there is light from within." Only if there is light from within. So living inside God's highest truth. Someone was sharing with me about a friend that was going through some stuff, and this friend doesn't have a spiritual community, in fact doesn't really have spiritual beliefs, and how hard it is for them to get through what it is that they are getting through, that they're going through, to come out the other end. You know, that is the beauty. This is where we get to practice that. This is where we get to practice living inside God's highest truth. So today I want to talk about one of the greatest role models we've ever had for living inside God's highest truth. That was Jesus, the man who was known as the Christ. In the Science of Mind textbook, I'd love to pull from the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes, I think he was brilliant. He shares some of his ideas around the Christmas story and the life of Jesus. And in an article entitled Finding the Christ, he says this: in studying the life and teachings of Jesus, the most unique character of history, we discover a few simple ideas underlying his philosophy, the embodiment of which enabled him to become the Christ. To become the Christ. And these are two ideas that I pulled from that. The first one is his oneness with God. His oneness with God. And that means that, you know, no one knew where he left off and God began, or vice versa. It was like he was one with God. And that's why, it ended up them thinking that he was God himself. Because when he lived from inside God's highest truth. He demonstrated that all the time. When people looked at him, they saw the light. Have you ever been in the presence of someone that when you look at them, you see the light? Yeah. Absolutely. Holmes right, and so we should never hesitate to say that we know this truth, because we do. For the realization of our unity with God is the truth. The Christ resides in all of us. That is the truth. We simply need a greater realization of this. And that was the difference between him and us, Jesus and us, is that he knew it. He knew it without a doubt. He knew it. And because he knew it, he was able to demonstrate it in ways that are hard for us to demonstrate because we're not confident of it. We don't know it for sure. Holmes writes, I already read that, sorry. So God is the living principle. God is the living principle that is within each one of us. The living principle that is within each one of us. And we call it the Christ. Holmes went on to ask and answer several questions. How are we to get it? How are we to get it? How are we to get this Christ presence? And he said, only by penetrating deeper and yet deeper into our own divine nature do we get it. So that means questioning, seeking in the beginning, and then living it. You know, we talked a lot about that, this faith in action. You know, how do we actually live it in our lives? Unity has 5 principles, 5 basic principles. That 5th one is, it's not enough just to read about this stuff in books. It's not enough to intellectually know and be able to spout scripture out. But how do you live it? How do you live it? So living it is really important. The 3rd question was, who is to do it for us? He said, no one can. Others can help us. They can pray and give us spiritual tools and treatments. And this is both good and helpful, but the evolution of the individual, the unfoldment of personality, the enlightenment of the soul, the illumination of the spirit can come only to the degree that we let life operate through us. Living inside God's highest truth. That we let this life live through us. So I talked about those 5 basic principles. In unity, we have 4 foundations that makes up a 4-legged stool. And each one of these is a process. Each one of these is a process that we can realize the Christ within us. And the one that I'm really thinking of is the 5-step prayer method. And it actually assists us in holding a state of realization, for higher realization. In unity, we call it the silence. But it's being able to go into that meditative place and to be able to empty ourselves and wait, like we're all doing right now in contemplation. Wait for that higher understanding to come to us. That's what it means to let God live through us. To get out of the way, to get our human self out of the way. Have you, as a human, ever gotten in the way of your spiritual life? Yeah? Me too. So here's a wonderful story that illustrates this point. It's a story of seekers who have heard that there's a council of masters atop a mountain in a faraway land. He so desires to learn at the feet of these masters that he sells everything he owns and heads out on a long journey to reach them. It is a journey filled with hardships and losses and pain, and it takes years and years to get there. And as the years pass, he accumulates a small band of other seekers, so they travel together. And finally, they reach the precipice. And finally, they reach the location of the masters. And so they walk in, they see the robed and hooded masters all sitting around a table, and their hearts leap for joy. And finally, after an arduous journey, they have arrived. And so they rush to the table, only to find that the robes are empty. The robes are empty. They were shocked, they were dismayed, and they were disheartened. But then there came the realization that they had to put the robes on. They had to put the robes on. They had to become their own masters. You see, this journey is not about me telling you who you are or how to be. It's not about that. It's about you realizing that. It's not about anyone programming you into thinking who you are, but it's about you coming to know who you are and then being it. And then being it. And that's what Jesus was able to do. That's what he was able to do. I love this. Thou art the center and circumference of my life, the beginningless and endless part of me, the eternal reality of me, the everlasting power within me, the eternal good working through me, the infinite love impelling me, the limitless peace and calm within me, the perfect life living through and in me, the joy of the soul and light of the Spirit illumining me. O Lord God, eternal and forever blessed, thou art my whole being. Thou art my whole being. As the human gives way to the divine in people, they become the Christ. As the human gives way to the divine in people, they become the Christ. Holmes coupled this with a dynamic realization with this enlightening concept of deity, of placing God at the center of our own being. He also realized there was an absolute law at work. There was an absolute law at work. He says, the words which you speak would be just as powerful as the words which Jesus spoke if you knew your word was the law whereunto it was sent. But you must know this within and not merely accept it with your intellect, you must know. What he's talking about here is as soon as your faith empowers your word, and words, they become creative. Jesus knew who he was. There was no separation between him and God. There was no separation between this living principle and him. His words became creative. In other words, he was able to heal. He was able to feed because his words became creative. And so the truth, the same is true for us. We can also do the same thing. And so this morning, I would like to take you through a meditation. So I invite you just to close your eyes. And I'm going to read this to you. I ask you just to take it in. In flashes of illumination, the inspired have seen into the very center of reality and have brought back with them a distinct impression of what they have seen and felt. Just a glimpse of this reality illumines the whole being with a flood of light. Every mystic has had this experience. Jesus was the greatest of all mystics. And once, at least after a period of illumination, his face was so bright his followers could not look upon it. In moments of deepest realization, the great mystics have sensed that one life flows through all, and that all are some part of that life. They have also seen substance, a fine white brilliant stuff, forever falling into everything. A substance indescribable and eternal. There is a healing light in the ray of the sun, which we term a physical light. But how much greater is the healing power which Jesus recognized in himself and in others? I am the light of the world. He that follows me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. I have set thee to be a light. He that loveth his brother abides in the light. The sons of God without rebuke, ye shine as lights in the world. And so take this into your heart. I am the light. I abide in the light. I am the light in the world. And today I live inside God's highest truth. I'm going to repeat it again. I am the light. I abide in the light. I am the light in the world. And today I live inside God's highest truth. And so it is. Amen.